Okay, Azrianok's book it brings up a new word called monamic, and this is contrapposto to dynamic, and it means to be having one speaker speaking to an item or a thing in the world without having it speak back. It's like speaking to somebody who's asleep or to dead. They're not speaking back to you. Speaking to a cloud, it's not really speaking back to you, but dynamic is an exchange. So monamic is a one way with the sensation reinterpreted by the individual, and then dynamic is that which is outside. Now, um, the whole world is impulses. It's moving. It's changing. We even know through science that everything is moving on an atomic level. But for all practical purposes, for all acquisition of language purposes, before we know that, we make a distinction between things that are still and things that are moving. And then later on, we'll also make a distinction between things that speak and things that listen and things that speak back when they're spoken to. Okay, so where I was leaving off on the last video was with color. So let's say when you show the infant, the prelingual infant, blue, it gets all giddy. It's like or it starts waving its arms around, and then let's say that you show it red, right, and it shrieks, or it slows its breathing down, or it puts its feet up. The body is having a physiological reaction, interaction with color that, like a lot of stimulus, will deplete upon the initial impulse as it's depleting. But these distinctions are still recognizable. Now, how might a prelingual beast, creature, infant, become lingual instead of saying that there's this huge beauty or amazement or magic to our language? I would suggest that, and this is a Derrida concept here that I've absorbed, which suggests that the the breathing and the lingual, the tongue, the lingual for linguistic base is off at the tongue. When the child starts moving the tongue around, while it's exhaling and while it's seeing a repetition of patterns, and while these repetitions of patterns are being reinforced by the mother, or by whomever is interacting with it, to stay PC, the accommodation of articulation will start coming into play, and then the interplay with the mom, as far as saying see, now see, and going yellow and yellow and yellow and blue and blue blue blue, and when the baby does something to accentuate the baby more, accent the interaction more, because the baby's already an impulse. It's full of all these impulses that we call living and having its own life, and it's a growing thing. And so my notion here is that the child is prelinguistic, meaning that it is already speaking, but it's not articulating. It's roughing out sounds, and that eventually become articulated sounds, and that a cry is a lack of articulation. Oh, the baby loves it. Oh, it just loves it. And then you take it away, wah, wah, and then you give it back and it doesn't wah anymore, and then you take it away and wah, wah. Well, it's not to say that the baby is trying to say, give me that back, but we would say the baby cries or it wails when it's absent, when it's gone. So, might become What? Oh, you want that back? What? Like within a series of gradients and a series of progressive sounds and distinctions and blinking, winking from one eye to another eye, and inhaling and exhaling, and being able to put up a toe or a finger in front of and or behind something will make distinct the object, and then the sounds, the lingual aspect, and the breathing and the articulation. This comes from the way the tongue is and the way the exhaling is and the way the sounds are made by the baby, and so the words are not magical in any way. They're simply another part of the world that is from its not really very distinct blurriness becomes very articulate. That this side is yellow and has a sharp edge, and that this side is green and has a pointy edge. Like the articulation of the breathing, the articulation of the pattern, these things are all prelingual. So I'm kind of really beating this home because this has to do later on with another part of Asrianok's book on recurrence, or infinite recurrence, which I would suggest is possible, but it is in itself a language game. Recurrence is going to be, I suppose, the start of the next video.